All right, I believe that's my cue to declare us live. Tuesday, 2:30 PGA DFS strategy show from Awesemo.com. Back in business. Myself, Ben Rasa, here with FantasyGolfMan. Playoff time. It's the Wyndham is over. You must be sad that the best events are behind us, but we do have the FedEx Cup on deck.
Yeah, we just got to gut through these 3 weeks to get to the fall swing and get back into
Sanderson Farms
business. Yeah.
Did you watch Sunday?
I did. I didn't see the last couple holes, but yeah, I watched a lot. I watched the Siwoo meltdown. Yeah, it looked like Billy Ho was in control, and then I went back and he was not in control anymore. But yeah, that course is ridiculous. Just there's like 3 hard par 4s, and the rest is just green lights everywhere. But I kind of I don't know, not from a viewing. I've always said this. I don't like it from a viewing perspective, but I think it's a little more predictable than really hard courses where there's lots of doubles out there. So I do like those events.
Very predictable. Jim Herman won. But
that
yeah.
sounds so ridiculous. Doesn't it?
Guys gaining on Ricky in the career win column, but that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. I didn't watch a ton, to be honest. I didn't have much to root for. I was focused on basketball and other things. But I want to say right off the top, Super Draft sponsoring the show as they always do. We appreciate it. If you guys haven't gone over there, come check out their multiplier mode. No salary restrictions. You're basically able to choose anyone you want. You're going to get incentivized with those big multipliers for the lesser known golfers. It's not just PGA though. Super Draft offers contests for NBA, baseball, NASCAR, MMA. If you haven't signed up, promo code Awesemo10, and it's $10 free on your first deposit of 10 or more, 20 total free on your first deposit of 100 or more. Super Draft, no limits, more winning. We're going to be talking about them throughout the show. But man, I don't know. This is just like a weird. Before we dive into everything, and chat, I see you guys hit the like button, all that. It's good to have everyone rocking and rolling. Tim, is this just weird for you? It's a little weird for me, just like having the FedEx Cup, but we still have the majors. It feels like the end of the year in the middle of the year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to have not played the U.S. Open, not played Augusta, still have those on tap, but we're having the playoffs. It's not that big of a deal, though, because I don't think people really care about. I mean, people like the events because they're strong field events, the best players in the world. They like seeing that. But I don't think people care that it's the playoffs. People aren't really paying attention to that kind of stuff. I think people are excited to have 3 good weeks of golf. So it's not as crazy as it would be in other sports. I don't know if you could even do it in other sports. But yeah, I think people are just excited to have 3 strong fields in the next 3 weeks.
And that's the thing. We're going to get a lot of golfers. Now, the fields will whittle down. Just to give a little background, we got 125. It's amazing. I say a little background, and I'm not – it's 125, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Buck 25, then 70, and then like 30 or 20, something ridiculous. But so this is going to be an easier to make cut. There's still a little ambiguity about what they're cutting to. I think it's 65. I've seen 70 float around again, but I'm pretty sure it's 65.
Yeah, it's got to be 65. I don't know why it wouldn't. This is a PGA Tour sanctioned event, not a PGA of America like the PGA Championship, which that made sense why they would possibly make it T70 in ties. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be T65, being that's a tour event.
No, me neither. And the confusing part about this, so this is the Northern Trust, but the Northern Trust last year and many years, like it's a rotational. It used to be 4. I'm not going to dive into all this. It used to be 4 events. Then they cut to 3. So where we are, which is TPC Boston, is on the schedule, I believe, every other year. Correct?
Yes. So they basically combined the first and second playoff events. The first event used to be TPC Boston. The second event used to be in the New York City area, like Liberty National, Bethpage. They basically combine those. Now, every other year, it's either going to be a TPC Boston or one of the New York City area courses. So this year, even year, TPC Boston. So even though this isn't the same event, we have a long history of this event as a previous playoff event. Didn't play here last year, but 2018 going all the way back. So a lot of course history here at TPC Boston. just under a different event name. But it took me a good hour to try and figure that out this weekend on what the hell was going on.
It was very confusing because I knew that we had played this course a bunch. I mean, I remember because luckily there's only a couple courses where Ricky and Rory win these days. This happens to be one of them. But I was just trying to make sure.
This used to be didn't this used to be the Friday through Monday? Right? It would end on, was it, I don't know, was it I don't know, was it a
Labor
holiday?
Day?
I'm so confused. No. Yeah, Memorial Day, wouldn't that be Memorial? I don't know.
Yeah, this is what we do on this show. We tie ourselves into a pretzel.
I swear to God, this tournament at some point ran Friday to Monday.
No, it's very confusing. There's been a lot of things. The moral of this whole story is that just make sure if you're looking at like course history and things like that, make sure you're looking at the right course. Like if someone's telling you, I mean, Patrick Reed does like this place, but make sure they're saying he likes this place for the right reasons. I guess that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, look at course history, not event history.
That's right. So talk about TPC Boston. Like we said, we know what this does. We've seen it a bunch. I think it favors Bombers. Anyone can succeed, though. Bryson, the defending champ.
Yeah, 7,300 yard, par 71, bent grass greens. Pretty easy course. I mean, we've seen the winning score the last few years, 17 under, 16 under, 15 under. And I think they've made it a little more difficult. They've tweaked it a little bit over the years. I think if you go back prior to like 2014, we've seen like 20 under and 22 under. They've done some minor redesigns to it, made it a little more difficult. And I think they kind of dialed in the winning score a little bit, but it doesn't play overly difficult. Like you said, it seems to favor the Bombers. I don't know if that's really just a product of a super strong field like we talked about in the past, but we've had Bryson, JT, Rory, the last three winners. But anytime you have strong fields, anytime you have the best players in the world, most of those guys are all long. Webb won here. That was a while ago. Steve Stricker run here a while ago. I'm going to give a bump to the Bombers. I would say it favors Bombers, but it's not, to me, it's not a week where it's like, we got to cross off anybody that just doesn't mash off the tee. So, pretty middle of the road for me. Little bump to the Bombers, but nothing huge, I don't think.
No, that's fair. I guess what I'm saying is, from what I've noticed, you can be aggressive off the tee if you want. You don't have to be, but you're not going to get in a huge amount of trouble. It's pretty generous landing areas, and you can hit a lot of, if you want to take advantage and try to put short clubs in, in for your second, you can do that.
Yeah, and we haven't seen, since the restart, we haven't seen a lot of courses where it was like kind of bombs away. PGA Championship, you definitely needed to be long, but the fairways were tight. The rough was spotty. But we've seen a lot of kind of shorter tracks and tracks where accuracy seemed to be more important than distance off the tee. And this, maybe of all the courses we've seen since the restart, maybe this is the best one for Bombers, honestly.
I think you could argue that. And listen, these par fives, especially 18, you're going to be able to get there. Like, it's not just Bombers, but like Bryson might be hitting, I'm not a golf person, but he might be hitting something stupid in there. He's hitting putter in for a second. Definitely. I don't know. It's short. It's like 530. Guys are going to eagle. They're going to put up some scores. I think it's just a middle of the road type of course. It's not going to be super easy. It's not going to be super difficult. Doesn't really stand out. And I kind of like that. It opens it up to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, not every course has to be
a theme. Yeah,
a theme, like a secret stat or something. It's like I think people try too hard to like look for something that isn't there. Especially this is, they're all great golfers. They're all really good golfers. And there's a couple crappy guys in there, but in general, this is a strong field. These guys are going to be able to figure anything in this course out. And yeah, I just don't see anything there where it's like, we really need to focus on this. And if this guy doesn't have X, Y, and Z, we can't play him. That's not it this week. And honestly, it's not that most weeks for me.
No, that's more an exception than a rule. But last thing I'll say, and then we'll get to the golfers. Post restart, there's been a lot of courses to me that are more, they have a theme than not, like, the heritages of the world and that's not this. And that's not what we usually see during an entire season.
Yeah, well, kind of like I said, I mean, we've seen Colonial, Harbortown, Travelers, Southwind, Wyndham. I mean, we've seen like 5 of like the 7 courses that really favor the short hitters. We've all seen them in a short 10-week span here, so it's been
Mhm.
kind of strange. They've jammed in all my favorite courses
I was
since
about
the
to say,
restart.
you must be loving life. But let's get to it. Chad, are you ready? I'm ready. Here we go. Everybody is here. No surprise. JT kicks us off. Bryson, Rory, DJ. More. I heard that, and this isn't that surprising, but it's also shocking. I heard Morikawa has a path if he wins to being number one.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
And Rom, just like, okay, this is absurd.
Well, he's good. He's really good if you haven't been paying attention.
I have. I've seen him do some things and lead. If he gets his putter as he did at Harding Park, it's going to be very tough to beat. But let's go. You always talk about sometimes you don't love fields like this, only in the sense that we're not breaking any news. Every one of these 6 golfers, if they play their A game, can and probably will win. So how do you choose between guys this good?
Yeah, it really is tough. I think, there's a few guys that have question marks at the top. One of them for me would be Rory. The other would be Rahm. Not to say that they're just weren't firing on all cylinders the last couple events. So those are probably the 2 that I'm lowest on. It's not going to come as a surprise to anybody. JT is my favorite. He's the most expensive, but I think he's been the most consistent of the elite guys all year since the restart. 1 missed cut, but he's got a win. He's got a second. The PGA Championship wasn't great, T37, but the ball striking was good. Gained 6 strokes off the tee and on approach there. I mean, like you said, all these guys are great. All these guys, if they bring their A game, can win. Wouldn't be surprised to see any of them win. But I just think Justin Thomas has been the most consistent and also, has the upside, and we've seen it. He's come through. Rory, I don't know what's going on with Rory. The numbers aren't bad, but it's just kind of sputtering. And if he turned it on this week, nobody would be surprised. But it's just really hard for me to get there at 10-8 when he just hasn't seemed to put it all together. Rather pay the extra money for the consistency and the mega upside that JT has. I think a lot of people are probably going to think like that because I don't think there's really, I don't know, there doesn't seem like there's a clear-cut guy at the top. I think people will just take the easy one with JT.
Yeah, there's no consensus. I think the guys that Rory of all these guys to me would have some of the best course history, especially long term, but he's probably playing the worst. And it's not that bad. Obviously I keep a close eye on what Rory's doing. I mean, he gained 5.5 strokes tee to green at the PGA. He couldn't really putt. It just hasn't been electric. It's been, like you said, just kind of moping around. He's making cuts and stuff, but he's not in contention. And when you're almost 11,000, you need more than that. That's not to say I don't like him. I think it is what it is with him right now. He's got to be sharper. He's got to start making some putts. You look at him to Bryson. Yes, Bryson is killing it off the tee. Bryson's also on fire putting. And that's something I don't know what to really do with, how to reconcile. Like, is that a concern for you considering how well he's putted, or do you think he can just continue to do that?
I don't have the numbers in front of me to see exactly how good he's putting. I know he's just a good putter. I'm sure he's running insanely hot with the putter, and that's unsustainable. If it's more than like a stroke,
I have it.
If it's more than a stroke around, it's unsustainable.
So here we go. Last 5 events. This is cumulative over the events. Travelers, he gained 5. Rocket Mortgage, he won, and he gained 7.8. He lost 0.2 of a stroke at Memorial, and he was cut. He gained 10 strokes putting at St. Jude, and then he gained 5 at PGA. So 4 out of 5 weeks, he's gained 5 or more.
Yeah, and I mean, he is just a good putter. I mean, he's running hot. And I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago. He's going to be a hard player to peg because he plays like a high variant style of golf, right? He's challenging all of these holes, hitting driver where guys don't normally hit driver. And he's a really good putter, and the irons are shaky. So it's like, if he hits some wayward drives, he's not going to be in contention. If the putter isn't working, he's not going to be in contention. The wedges aren't good, but if it's all going, he's going to be right there at the top. So he plays like a high variance style with all the long drives, all the putting, and he's just going to be a hard guy to peg from week to week.
This
just
is
because of the style of golf he plays.
it's what I mean. Champ is actually a lot better than I thought, but this is like Champ to the extreme. Like he crushes it off the tee. His irons in around the green are not even that good, and then he makes a lot of putts. If you're leading, I mean, they talked about this, Bryson. If you're leading an event off the tee and strokes gained putting, it's pretty hard to mess that up.
It really is, like, because it's like, wow, he's flipping wedges, and even if the wedges aren't good, he
He
hits it
makes
to
the
20
putt.
feet, but then he's making the putt. So it's, yeah. But I think from week to week, and it's going to be dependent on the course a lot of times, whether the course allows 380-yard drives that are sometimes wayward. Is it going to punish those drives? Is it not? Is he going to be dialed in with the driver? Is he not? It's a lot of moving parts with him. I like it for GPPs but I think you're going to see some really boom or bust weeks with him.
Mm-hmm. And then last guy, I mean, like I said, this is not, I don't want to say this isn't where the money is made. It's just very hard to distinguish. But what do you make of DJ? He obviously was good at the PGA, but he also gained, 6, 7 strokes putting there. Do you go to him? I like the course for him, but I don't have really a strong take.
Yeah, I mean, I like, he's bounced back very nicely the last two events. Good at St. Jude, good at the PGA, and the short game was working, but the ball striking was decent too. I just think he's more appropriately priced. I think
Yeah.
it was just really easy at the PGA Championship and at the St. Jude Classic. He was just too cheap, and now he's just appropriately priced, and I like DJ. Um, but yeah, he's at a price where I don't think there's value there. If he plays well, obviously can win like any of these guys. But yeah, not a target for me. He was so appealing the last two events because of the price, but now he's priced back up. So I just I put him in the same boat as all these other guys.
So for you, if you couldn't use Justin Thomas and you had to take a guy 10K or above, who would it be?
I would probably just play Bryson just because I like you have to embrace that high variance style and just realize that sometimes you're going to get the bad weeks, but when he's on, he's going to be very on. He's going to make so many birdies and eagles. If for some reason he's not contending, he's going to outscore his placement anyway. So it would be him because I think he's probably been the second most consistent, even though he plays kind of a crazy man style. He's still been really good outside of one event.
Fair enough.
How about you?
I mean, it would be, I'm going to go to Rory, obviously more than you. Rory, JT, and then Bryson, but it's a perfect transition. I think you can easily start not with any of them and go into the nines. This is a deep, deep field. Win equity, yes, there's a lot up top, but there's a lot going down as well. So here we go. We've got Xander, Webb, Day, Cantlay, Brooks, and Reed. Do you feel comfortable starting with one of these guys? And if so, who would it be?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think this has worked really well, especially in like the PGA Championship, where you're just maybe foregoing a lot of the guys at the very top and then jamming in some of these secondary players who, like we said before, if Sanders on or Webb is on, they're going to be right there. It's not like they're overpowered by guys like JT or Rory. If they bring their A game, they're right there, and you're getting a discount on them. I don't have a problem with Xander at 9,700. I really thought he was going to play poorly at the PGA the prior week
Never plays poorly.
at TPC Southwind. I don't remember exactly what happened. He had a top 10, but the irons were atrocious. And he lost like 5 strokes with the irons, and then he was chalky at the PGA. I was expecting him to just fall flat on his face. And of course, he was good again. So not really, I don't really have a problem with Xander. I think I would still be preferential to Webb at 9,500. I know the course fit isn't great. Last week was a perfect course fit, and he played well. But I mean, he's just been so good. I know he has a couple miscuts since we've restarted, but just he gained 6.4 with the ball striking last week. He just has some really good performances when he won at RBC. The ball striking +6, +8 in a couple events. We know the short game is good. I think he's consistent. I think he's safe, but with upside. I kind of like that. So not a web course. He has one here, but wouldn't think it was a prototypical web course, I guess
No,
is what I should
it's
say.
not Bermuda.
Not Bermuda, not short, but he does have a win here. I just like it. I like the consistency. And he's got the upside, and I think he's a value at 9,500.
Xander is he defies logic for me. You mentioned he lost 5 on the approach at St. Jude. He kind of did that again at the PGA. It wasn't that bad, but he gained directly 0 strokes on the approach. If you come in 10th, that's ridiculous when you don't gain anything with your irons. He ran a really pure with the short game. His driving has been fantastic as well, though. So keep that in mind. I have no problem with Webb. I still don't think it's a great course for him. I really like the lower nines. Cantlay is not playing the best we've ever seen him, but this is a good course for him. He seems to always kind of steady, even when he doesn't bring the best. And the irons, they're not as crisp, but they're also not bleeding strokes. So I think if the putter gets going on bent grass, he could be good. Patrick Reed's going to be popular. That's what I really wanted to ask you. He looked great last week. He's got the history here. Do you go to a chalky Patrick Reed, or do you just say I'll let other people chase that and I'll do Mega Mind Genius Brooks Koepka?
Oh, we're definitely not going to Brooks.
He was so bad last. Spieth was the only one that made it out of that group. How pathetic is that?
That's yes. And then Spieth was just god awful.
Yeah, he might have been worse than the guys who got cut.
He's so broken. It's not even funny.
Again.
I don't know. Reed's not a guy that I would want to play when he's shocky. He was great last week. Gained 9 with the ball striking. Gained 2.5 at PGA. But I don't know. The ball striking is somewhat inconsistent with him, and it scares me when he's 9K and he's going to be popular. I can't believe you didn't mention Day, who I think is maybe the best play there is at 9,300. Okay. I mean, he looks like he's completely back. Top 10s, 4 straight events. The first 2 events, ball striking was okay. The short game was good. Then he gained 5.8 with the ball striking at the WGC, where he was 6th. Then he gained 8.5 with the ball striking at the PGA, where he was 4th. I mean, so the ball striking is trending upwards to where it's really good. We know the short game is good. Former very elite player. I still think he's underpriced at 9,300. Great course history here. Top 25 in 8 of his last 10. 3 top 10s.
He loves
I don't know what's not to like about him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to be a combination of I rarely like to take guys that are starting to creep up in the price and are going to get the ownership boost too. Because he has great course history. He has great recent form. But this is not some bozo who is just now rising in the ranks. Day is a world-class player. He could easily still belong, especially if he's healthy, and it seems like he is, in the 9s in majors and these type of events. So I get it there. I like Cantlay over both of these guys. I think it's not to say I won't have Reed or Day, because I'm a big fan of both, but they're going to be very popular. And if I could take a discount, I will.
Cantlay has just not done anything.
No, but it's similar to Rory. I know that seems weird, but both of them, I look at the stats and I honestly feel like they are playing better than they are showing. Not that they've been great. There's really nothing going on, though. It's just been a little inefficient. They're not exploding putting. They're not dialed in with the irons. They're gaining a couple strokes tee to green. They're around 0 with the putter. And they have, 32nd, 35th, 43rd. That's what you get when you do that.
I'll take the guy that's finished in the top 10 the last 4 events.
Fair. I don't know. If Brooks coffins both of us, that would be fitting.
That's how things have been going, honestly. So,
I mean, I will say I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on him, but Brooks's irons are fine. It's everything else.
Yeah, boy, I don't know. I would have to do a super deep dive into the old numbers.
It's not. He's just not doing anything of value outside of gaining.
I think one of the things he's not doing is caring, and that might be
could be problematic. 1.15x over on Super Draft. I don't mind that, but DJ is also at that multiplier. I'd rather go there. Yeah, I don't know. I can't get there. Cantlay, and then I'll go chalk with Day and Reed for the 9s, and I think your Day, Webb, and Reed.
Day and Webb. No, we're not getting to Reed now. We're just
okay. Wow.
Full fade.
Don't hate. It's better than Berger. Berger kicks us off though at 8,900. There's a lot of guys here, including Tiger. I'll open it up. What do you want to do with this could be your third man in, it could be your second man in. I don't think you want to start here. What do you do with the eights?
I really like Finau at
Yeah, me too.
8,800.
That's not good.
Very weird to look at his numbers over the last 4 events. Three of them were off the charts, and one of them was horrific mixed in there. And I'm not really sure what to make of that, besides that we're just going to throw out the WGC where he was T65 and lost 7 strokes with the ball striking. But he was fourth at the PGA plus 10.7, third at the 3M plus 11. Those are just obscene numbers. And eighth at Memorial plus 6.5 with the ball striking. So 3 of the 4 have just been like off the charts. And the one at TPC Southwind was really bad, and I'm not sure what to make of that. But I can't really ignore the ball striking out of him at 8,800. I still think is a decent price for him. He's just a guy. I don't know. He plays better in strong fields than he does in some of these weak events where he's like 10K. And I know 8,800 is not as cheap as sometimes we see him in majors where he's maybe in the low eights. But I still think there's some value here. And these are the type of events that he's really played well at. So, yeah, I like Finau a lot.
He checks out. I think, he should fit this course well. The numbers are, I mean, you're not going to see examples of a guy gaining 10 strokes with the irons, then losing 8 and then gaining 8 in back-to-back-to-back weeks. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in Memphis. He made bad barbecue or something.
Yeah, it happens. What do you do with Tiger? I don't think normally I'd say he's unplayable. I think he's very playable here. Kind of, you have more room for him to just make a cut and kind of coast to a lesser extent. 8,700, that's a pretty reasonable tag.
Yeah, not bad. Struck it okay at the PGA, didn't putt, and struck it good at Memorial. T37, T40. I don't know. I mean, he seems like if he's on, since he's come back, we saw it at, was it Zoizo that he won?
Yeah, Zoizo.
Zoizo. And the Masters, like when he gets into contention, then he's got another gear. And he wins, but we've kind of seen a lot of events where he just kind of doesn't kill you, but just flounders around. I don't know. I don't love it at 8,700. I'm not totally against it. I think Finau is a better play. I think maybe some of the guys in the I don't know. Maybe some of the guys in the low eights aren't. This is not a very good range for me. I think it's Finau, to be honest with you. I think he's the easiest guy here. Hideki, we've just like more of the same with him at 8,600. It's just literally, it's like a broken record.
It is.
Every week. If he's at a price where T20, and it's hilarious because I look at 4 of his last 5, T22, T20, T22, T21. So if he's at a price where a T20 is going to be plus EV or get value, return value, then you play him. If he's not at a price where a T20 is going to help you, then you don't play him. And I don't think at 8,600, I don't think I want to sign up for a T20.
You know how many times during that little stretch that I bet Hideki top 20 only to lose on the number? This has been, one of the themes for me with the restart. It's really tough, and I'm trying to work around it. Hideki is not playing terrible. No. He has shown signs. And seemingly when there is a weakness to his game, it corrects. But then something else goes away. Like, he finally had a killer short game at the PGA and he lost with the irons. Before that, it was typical Decky, gained 9 strokes tee to green and can't do anything with the putter. There's been a couple guys like that, and it's very difficult to do because it's not just saying like, well, you know what you're getting with Decky. I really don't, and it's hard to reconcile those statistics.
Yeah, the finish is the same, but he doesn't get there in the same fashion every week.
Yeah. So, okay. One of the things I wasn't really paying attention because, Jim Herman and the gang had it on control. But one thing I did notice was that Tommy Fleetwood was playing Shinnecock or something on Sunday. Ungodly bad. He lost 6 strokes on the approach last week. His restart's been bad. Do you have any interest with him? Adam Scott is there. Low 8K range.
Yeah, Fleetwood's irons have been abysmal. I think he's lost 11 strokes on approach in the last 2 events because he was equally as bad at St. Jude. Something's very wrong there. So no, I do not like Fleetwood at 8,300. If I had to go back, or if I had to go into this range, I guess it would be Adam Scott, who was okay at the PGA. T22 looks good on paper. The ball striking was right around even, but he had not played um, until the PGA Championship. So he got in 4 rounds under his belt, knocked the rust off. Great course history here. I don't mind Adam Scott, just not super excited to play him. But if I had to go, in the mid to low 8 range, it would be him. Yeah, avoiding Fleetwood like the plague. I don't know what's going on with those irons.
It's, again, there's a lot of guys like this. So I'm going to give you one more. Hovland, absolutely inferno tee to green. Now that's all gone, but he gained 5 strokes putting at the PGA. Like, that entices me because if he ever could put that together, it's over. I like him as a bet. I'm not sure I'm there on DraftKings and Super Draft and on daily in general.
I think someone's done a study on like loss aversion putting, and the fact that if the putt, like identical putts for par and birdie, they're way more likely to make the par putt. I feel like I've read this, and maybe
Really?
and that I don't know what it is. It's like a psychological thing, and I swear to God that explains some of these guys when they're awful with the ball striking, or when they're good with the ball striking, they can never make a putt, and then the only time they putt is when they're awful and they're having to like scramble. I don't know. That could be. I could have just totally made that up, but I swear
It sounds reasonable.
there's a study out there somewhere.
Rahm, not that he's damn good and he makes plenty of birdies, but there's nobody in the world that I would rather have for a 10-footer for par specifically. When that guy every time center cut.
Because he could literally have an aneurysm and die on the course if he does not make, like, literally his life is in jeopardy if he misses.
I respect that. Yeah. It's like Webb with the 70-footers, but that's neither here nor there. All right. Then you got Scheffler. We can round it out. Actually, there is a couple. So we have three. We talked about Fleetwood, but 3 more Englishmen right at the bottom here. Fitzy. These are wildly different players. Fitzy, Rose, and Hatton. Do you have the balls to go back to Justin Rose?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you might.
Because I just think long term, this is
Here
the
we
right
go.
play at 8K. Justin Rose at 8K. I really do. I think maybe it doesn't work out this week, but over you play this event 1,000 times, and if you play Justin Rose at 8K, you're going to come out ahead. I would guarantee it. I mean, he was not good last week. It's been very hard to figure out what we're getting from him. Started off the restart at Colonial at RBC, he was great. Then he missed 3 cuts, and he was awful. Then he went to the PGA, and he was good. He had a top 10, and then he was awful at Wyndham. But I think long term, this is the right play to play him at 8K. I think Hatton is also intriguing at 8K. The ball striking was great at the PGA.
And the putting was gone.
The putting was gone, and before that, the putting was great, and the ball striking wasn't there. I think he's come back down to earth as far as the price goes. We saw him, it was like all-time high at, what was it, the WGC, where he's like 9,700 or something ridiculous, and I think I probably played him, and he was bad. But I think the price is appropriate, and if you look back, I don't want to go back before the restart, but he was awesome. He won Bay Hill. He was awesome at the WGC Mexico, and the ball striking was great there. So it's like he's gone all over the place with good ball striking, good putting. He could put it all together, and I think he's a fine play at 8K. I'd prefer Rose, though. Rose is a much classier golfer. He doesn't blame a spike mark for every missed cut either. That drives me crazy with Hatton.
Especially because you can tap him down now. Like,
dude, if there weren't spike marks, he would make every putt.
So the thing I'll say about Rose, it just shows how you can frame information. Like, if you don't want to play Rose, you can look just post restart and say the guy's made 3 out of 7 cuts. Like, that's horrendous. Like, why am I going to take a guy like that? If you want to play him, and I more am with you than against you here, you can look and you can say the guy's got 3 top 15s out of 7 events played. Like, when he makes the cut, he's been cashing you in. So yes, there's a lot of risk, but it's not like he's making cuts and coming in. Like, I would rather have my guy have a 3rd, 9th, and 14th and 4 missed cuts than 7 straight 40ths. What good is that? Like, give me the boom bust, and I'll go with Rose as well.
100%. And I think sometimes we get caught in a trap of going to guys for consistency. It's like, oh look, he's made,
Yeah, it's Harris
you know,
English all over
6
again.
straight cuts. The guys that make every cut, they have better stats. It's like, oh look, his approach numbers are good, his off the tee numbers are good, and this, Siwoo Kim's approach numbers and off the tee numbers are terrible. But it's like when he's on, he's on. And I think sometimes we get lulled to sleep by consistency. And really, the guys that are boomer bust are the guys that we should be playing. And Rose, he's boomer bust in the sense of this, in the last 10 weeks, we don't know what we're getting out of him. But over 10 years, he's probably one of the most consistent guys in the field.
Yeah. And listen, again, it's that same concept of you're going to have to embrace that. I had another thought and I totally forgot it. So I'm just going to go with embrace the risk with Rosie. And he's in a range where you can get away with it. The ownership won't be there. I'm not saying, like, if you're talking, I want a guy who's going to make a cut and I love the rest of my team, I wouldn't put Rose as the last man in. But if you're saying I want to add some win equity and I want to add a guy that's shown he can get in the mix, sign me up. So,
Dude,
boy,
you
another one.
pair him up with the next guy on the board, and you just jam him and Fowler in together. They're like exactly the same plays, in my opinion.
Ricky. All right.
What do you think?
So I'm glad. It depends where you look. I'm glad that you're talking about Ricky because one of the things I was looking at was Billy Ho on top of Ricky at 7,900. And I was saying, if you're pairing him with Billy Ho, I give up.
We never play Billy Horschel
ever.
We just lose. I'll lose every week. Him and Harris English might actually be an okay play this week. But
Harris English last week, just listen, Harris English was great, but this is what we did talk about. He came in like 20th and he was 9,300. It's not killing you. Is that winning anything? Not really.
No, it's definitely not.
Like, that's not exactly what we do. Now, Ricky, he missed a 6-inch putt the last time we saw him en route to another miscut. This is the 7K range. These are your, we're getting into some decent multipliers, the 1.2, the 1.3x over on SuperDraft. Let's get to it. Because I don't want to be the one to say it, are you going to go to Ricky? I mean, in theory, he likes this course. He's won here. Or are you just like, this guy's all over the map?
He is all over the map, but he's literally, everything we said about Rose, you can go back and say about Ricky. He hasn't quite had, some of the good performances. Maybe that's why he's $100
The cutter comes in 40th, but I know what you're saying.
But I mean, 7,900, it's the same thing. If you played this tournament 1,000 times and you played Fowler 1,000 times, you're going to come out ahead. So yeah, I mean, he's just too good. This is a crazy price. I mean, below 8K for Fowler. I mean, he was good at the WGC. I mean, he was T15. The ball striking was okay, kind of a typical Fowler well-rounded performance, plus 1.8 with the ball striking.
Positive. Imploded on Sunday. Don't forget. Like he imploded on Sunday. Don't forget.
Yeah, he did implode on Sunday. So it's like we're not that far removed from a decent performance. He missed the 6-inch putt, missed tap in. Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good play, and I think Rose is a good play, and I think those two guys are going to be scary, but I think there's a lot of value there. It's going to give you a lot of win equity. It's going to give you a lot of long-term form guys for cheap. I like both of them.
It's really just a question, and again, I'm not going to say what the right or wrong answer is, because if I knew, I would be a lot smarter than I am. If you don't want to go to these guys, then you have to assume that they're just not their long-term form. Like, if you look at Brendan Todd, he's an easy example. His long-term form, you're going to have data in there that would say never, ever, under any circumstance, play this guy. It's pretty clear that that's bad data now. He's shown he's over some of the things that plagued him. This is obviously a much more gray example, but like if you look at Rose and Ricky, long-term, these are obvious misprices if you think they're as good as they were. Like that's just a given. The question is, do you think that, or are they really struggling to the point that they're not the same player? And Spieth, you could put Spieth in there too, honestly. But yeah, I think he's not the same player, though. That's the answer for me.
Yeah, he's definitely not the same player. But I think with Spieth, it's like you look at the numbers and they're awful every week.
That's why I don't. It. He's had his chances, and it's not working here.
Right, but it's not like, oh, he's been hit or miss, or like, oh, the ball striking's good
It's
this
just
week.
miss.
No, it's bad every week for like 18 months straight. Where Rose and Fowler, I mean, it's up and down. Have they been as good as historically they've been? No, but you can see some things in the numbers where it's like, yeah, they're not that far off. I mean, if I looked and Rose or Fowler was just like negative every single event, then I would have no, it's not just like a name thing, like, oh, it's a good name for 7,900. There's reasons to play, and the numbers, there's some positives in those numbers. Whereas Spieth, I mean, not to pile on, there just hasn't been anything positive for a very long
Oh,
time.
for a very long time. Talk about a couple other names, and then we, open it up to the full sevens. We've got Woodland right there. Answer is back. He decided not to play last week. Kisner, Harris English. Like, where do you go here if you don't take the big name players who were more risk reward?
I mean, I think I'd go back to Kisner at 7,600. One of the things that scares me though this week about a lot of these guys is I think last week there was like a definite course fit, the short Bermuda. It was a weak field, and we saw a lot of guys excel at that. And Kisner is one of them. Now we get him on a different green type and a stronger field, and I hope that everything carries over. But he was great. He gained 8.5 with the ball striking, and we know he's a good putter. Um, and that was two good events in a row. He gained almost 5 strokes with the ball striking at the PGA Championship. I just like him. I think 7,600. He's right there with Harris English, but I think Kisner just has the upside. English has been playing consistent, but like you said, I will take a little bit more of a boomer bust. I think Kisner is, even though the odds are similar, I think, in my opinion, Kisner far more likely winner of this event than Harris English is.
Oh, no doubt.
I just like the way that he plays. I just hope, and this is true for some of the cheaper guys too. A good performance last week, and then a good performance this week, kind of two different things in a much stronger field and a different type of course. That's the only
Totally
scary
different.
thing these guys.
Do you not like Answer, or you just kind of prefer those other guys? Because he's going to gain strokes off the tee. I actually think the numbers have been pretty good. And this is a better course than we've seen, where he's actually played well at Heritage, Travelers, Charles Schwab. I like him here more than those places.
I mean, he came out, if you're looking at the numbers since the restart, they're great. But Colonial was really good. RBC was like an all-time historical
That was nuclear.
performance. And then Travelers was good. But then after that, it was like -6 at Memorial, +2 at the WGC, +3.8 at PGA. And I mean, those are good. +2 and +3.8. That's not terrible. But I don't know. It's just not as hot fire as he was to start the season. So it's fallen off. Now he's kind of a little bit more, just he's hitting it okay. For me, no. I think there's other guys in this range I'd rather play. I mean, Im is interesting. I've never been a big Im guy, but he looked like he had it back last week. If he is truly back, then he's underpriced at 7,700. But that could just be another product of a weak field. I don't know. What are your thoughts? You're going to see people want to go to guys that played well last week, whether it's Mark Hubbard, Denny McCarthy, whoever it is. But it's like, boy, this is like quite the step up from last week.
Are you kidding? Yeah. To me, those are can they keep it going?
Guys you X off, right?
Yeah, I don't do that. Like, it's such a product of where you're playing and who you're playing against. To me, this is like a major. I know it's not as important, but the big names are here, and it's very hard for guys like that to keep it going. Maybe a couple of them do, but in general, they have to fill up the leaderboard because none of these guys were there. Literally none of the people we've talked about played last week. Sans a couple. All right. HV3, Leishman, your boy Doc Redman, Henley. Like, these are the names we start getting to in the lower sevens. Is there someone, Neiman, who was not great last week? What do we do here?
We just keep firing up Russell Henley.
Russell Henley
every single week.
He was great last week for a change.
He was great. If he could have done something on, I guess Thursday was his worst round. But,
yeah.
I mean, he's third on tour in strokes gain approach. The irons have just stayed hot all year. He has a second here. This doesn't seem like a typical Russell Henley course, but he does have a second here. But yeah, he was ninth last week, gained 6.2. He gained 7.1 with the approach at the PGA. He gains 8.9 with the ball striking at the Workday. He gained 10 with the ball striking at Travelers. Historically, a good putter, more of a Bermuda guy. But I mean, I just think it's been really, really good. The numbers have been great. And I think 7,300 is still a good price for him, even in this strong field. Yeah, I'm going to fire him right back up.
Respect that.
Yeah.
Listen, I think this is where, again, it's lineup specific. You're going to have, like, Leishman, wild card. He likes strong fields. He can compete. The form is blah. You've got Neiman, good scorer. I don't mind that if it's calm conditions. Bubba is down here. Do you think that you can go there if you want to go, like, say you pair him up with like Bryson and Champ and those types, go really aggressive off the tee? Super aggressive.
I mean, I've played a fair amount of Bubba. And the ball striking numbers haven't been bad. Yeah, I mean, I think you could get there at this course, especially somewhat limited field, 125, a little bit easier to get 6 of 6 through. I don't have a problem. I don't think I'll be playing him, but there's worse plays on the board.
Chat wants to know if you're playing Phil.
No. Okay. I missed my chance at the WGC when I touted him and then didn't play him. So no, I'm not playing Phil.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get there. There's just too many other names. I'd rather take shots with
Neiman. I think Neiman's a good play at 7,200.
Good score.
He's a good scorer. The numbers have been good every event, even in the missed cuts, or missed cut. I think he only missed one cut. But I mean, he's going to gain, and I just think, I think there's some upside there. To me, it's insane. Like, people are going to play Griot at 7K when Neiman is like the same player, but just so much more upside. I think he's more consistent than Griot. I think he's got he's just a better player. He's like a much better version of Griot, and actually a player that I think long term could be great. I couldn't imagine playing Griot at 7K in this field.
Oh, let's not unfairly label people.
I said I actually deleted a tweet where I said you were brain dead if you played him, and then I thought that was a little harsh, so I deleted it.
Yeah, it's going to be, if he's really popular for some reason, and I've seen some possibilities that could be the case, I don't really get it. It is like, yes, he's striking it a little better. His putter isn't completely broken, but what is he really going to give you in a field like this? Neiman, if you get the good side of Neiman, he can explode and just go nuts.
Well, yeah. Well, wouldn't you agree that Neiman's just a way better version of Griot?
Yeah, but Griot, I honestly, I don't know. I don't see them similar just because Griot's. Let me ask you this: who would you give the iron advantage to? You think it's close? Because like Griot just can't do anything else, but I still trust his irons over Neiman's.
Yeah, probably. I looked up something and it was quite alarming on Griot.
It's all alarming.
In 2019, the entire year, he had one top 10. And in 2020, he has 3 top 10s, and 2 of them came in the alternate events, the Barracuda and what was I don't even remember what the other one was.
Punta Cana or something?
Yeah, something like that. And the other one was the 3M. So he basically has top 10s in like the 3 worst fields he's played in. And last year, he had 1 top 10 the entire year.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows when I can't physically play him, he plays better. 2, Griot
Barracuda. Barracuda was it?
Oh, Barracuda. Stableford scoring's more his speed. He hasn't gained more than 2 strokes putting in an event since 2018.
Yeah.
To really have upside, you probably need to gain a couple. Like, gaining 2 strokes putting is a fine week's worth, but that's not alarming. Like, Denny McCarthy does that every week. I'm not exaggerating. Literally every week. He hasn't done it in 2 years.
Did I say Barracuda twice? I think I said one was the Barracuda, and then I thought about it for like a minute, and then I said the other was the Barracuda. If I did that, I'm an idiot.
So what does that make me? Because I said, yeah, that's the other one. So that can't be good. That really, really can't be good. But the last thing, and then we'll get into the cheapies. You said you were going to go back to Justin Rose. Will you go back to Ryan Moore?
No, absolutely not. Because he should not be trusted. And we were dumb to trust him.
Bad chalk. I'll take of all the mistakes I made last week, that was by far the one I was most upset with myself about. Like some of the chalk up top I never would have got to, and I can live with that. Ryan Moore at like 50% in some fields, I should have deviated.
I might. Fratelli's interesting to me just because he didn't quite strike it as good, even though he was T20 last week, gained 3. But the last 3 events, like +6, +6, +3 with the ball striking, it's been really good. I wouldn't mind him at 7K. I'd play him before Grillo, but still, I think Neiman's is better than both of those guys.
Fair enough. And listen, there's going to be a lot of guys. This is a strong field, as we talked about. If we don't get to them tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern, me and Jason Roslin chat. You know the drill. We'll be taking questions from you guys, going basically through the entire field with lineup construction. Let's get to the 6K, the cheapies, the big time multipliers over on Super Draft. But before I do, a couple things. As Nightbot has already told you, we've got a couple things going on. We've got a weekly NBA pass for only $8.24, a little Kobe thing, promo code MAMBA. So if you want to get in the playoffs, those guys got a couple shows a day, Alex's projections, ownership. Great time to do it. We also have a season-long and best ball fantasy football package at Awesemo.com for only $29.95. They've put in a ton of work. The season, it feels like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you really do, because the season starts in like 3 weeks. So time is now. Hop on in. Really good stuff there. I'm going to be doing some more football shows. We got some preview shows coming out. Stay tuned for those. But let's get to the business here. It's not terrible. It's not good, though. Even for, the FedEx Cup, and this is top 125. I don't know. I didn't see a lot down here. Kevin Na, you got
There's really only like 70 good golfers in the world.
Yeah, and 20 of them are in Europe, so now you got 50. Peter's the favorite over in Europe. We don't need to go there, though. And Sam, tangent, I never thought we got to. Sam Horsfield is winning everything over there. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Remember that guy?
Not really. I've paid very little attention to Euro, especially when like zero the good Euro guys are even over there.
Sam Horsfield, he's won 2 out of 3.
But it's like winning the John Deere Classic and the Barracuda or something.
Yeah, so he's as good as ZJ, that means. So come on over. All right, what do we do here? Like you mentioned, this is where you're going to find names that have either beat up on weak fields or are good players who just like don't really have it, like Snedeker lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough if you're going to look at results and stats, and you're going to see some guys that have done some damage against really bad fields. I'm drawn again to Sam Burns, but he's like a great example of this. He's 13th at the Wyndham, missed the cut at the Barracuda, but he's 32nd at the 3M, 17th at the Workday. All those made cuts. The off the tee, the approach game were really, really good. He's long off the tee. He can putt. He can score. Preferential to Bermuda. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I like him at 6,900. But again, it's like a big step up in class. He's done a lot of damage on easy courses and weak fields. But I think this week it's not a major. I think I'm still preferential to maybe the guys that have played well, accumulated good stats, even against bad fields, than some of these guys like Sneds that just haven't done anything. I don't know. It's not a major. It's not going to play difficult. I think the harder it plays, the more likely I am to go to long-term form guys.
Oh, absolutely.
If it's just going to be like a grind it out, and especially if there's a lot of pressure like there is in a major. And I mean, there's pressure in a playoff event, but it's like, I don't know. I don't feel it like these guys are really going to be feeling it coming down the stretch on Sunday like they would if this was a U.S. Open or something. So yeah, I guess I'm more preferential to these guys like Burns. But yeah, I like him at 6,900.
I'm a firm believer that the difference between the very best players and some of the middling guys on tour is their ability to limit the damage and not score. And that's why at tougher events, you see the cream rise to the top more often. Like if it's a pure shootout, I think these guys could compete every week against the best. It's just they can make triples where these other guys can save bogey. And that's the difference. Now, you're a big ball striking guy. Chat knows this. I know this. Have you ever seen 2 weeks like Luke List has had here? I don't know if I've ever remembered seeing.
He's lost. I think he's lost almost 15 strokes putting in the last 2 events.
7.5 and 7.7. So 15.2 strokes putting in the last 2 events. He's gained basically that tee to green to balance it out.
I'm gonna play him. I'm playing him. I don't care. He's 6,700, but prior to that, it wasn't awful. I mean, it's like all of a sudden. I mean, I don't know. A Memorial. I don't know what. I guess I don't have his putting numbers.
No, it was fine. It was positive.
Yeah. So like he was T10 at Memorial. Then the ball striking was really good. He was T32 at the 3M. The ball striking was okay. In the last 2 weeks, it's just been awful. But I think I'm going to go there at 6,700. There's a ton of risk there. But boy, he can't be that bad 3 weeks in a row. A guy had I thought it was a hysterical reply to one of my tweets, and he's like, yes, the fine line between upside and the full-blown putting yips, which is like, I feel like what we have with List this week. Like, we're not quite sure if it's just like he's a good week away from blowing up, or he's totally lost on the greens. But I'm willing to take a chance and find out. A ton of risk involved, so tread lightly, but I'm going there.
It's crazy to say this considering he came in 66th and 50th. He has struck it in the last 2 weeks good enough to win these events, win them. No one even knows he was in them because he was not even close. This guy's been on tour, his 2 worst putting events ever, back to back. I don't know what to make of that. I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's just a weird coincidence. I don't know how you don't at least look to him. If he loses a couple strokes putting, he's gaining 5 strokes on what he's been doing. Like if he strikes it like this, we've seen the floor. The putting literally can't get worse. It's possible.
Yeah. And he's made the cut at least.
That's what I'm saying. This is the floor.
It's like, yeah, it's like he's at least you're getting 4 rounds out of him no matter how bad he putts. After the Paul Casey at PGA debacle, I will literally go down in flames with the ship.
You gotta hold on sometimes
before I jump off. Not that I've played List, but the numbers are just way too good, and we saw it with Casey. And now it's a completely different example. Casey's a really good player, and that was a major. But I think you can take some things from it. I mean, the shit turns around week to week. I mean, it's just he could, like you said, he could be just even with the putter, and he's probably going to be in the top 15. So yeah, 6,700. I'm playing him. Doesn't feel
fair
good.
Enough. Last couple. Like I said, I don't think you need to dip this slow, and we'll get into the egregious guys tomorrow. You've got Keegan, Bud Cauley looked better. I didn't play him last week. Obviously, showed up. Chat wants to know Scott Stallings. Do you have any other names you want to throw out of here before we get out of here?
Just keep playing the same obvious guy down here every single week. Henrik Norlander. Just keep playing Norlander. No, I mean, I don't love Norlander.
Just keep doing it, but I'm not super on board with it.
I'm just kidding.
He is totally his irons, man. They're great.
You totally skipped over him. I mean, he's been positive every single event. I got him and Neiman mixed up. He was the guy. He's missed 1 cut, and even in that missed cut, he was great with the ball striking. You know, it's been up and down, but even the down weeks, the ball striking has been positive. I definitely think you can play him at 6,600. It doesn't feel good. List, yeah, just if you want to have some balls, you play List. If you want to strap on 9 condoms, you play Henrik Norlander. Other guy, I guess, the last, like the cheapest guy I would consider, and this is another guy kind of in the Sam Burns of beating up on good fields, but it'd be Cam Davis at 6,300. T15, T32, T12. His last 3 starts, ball striking has been good. So the numbers are good for him. I don't love him, but he was kind of the cheapest guy that caught my eye in this field.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't really want to get too like someone like Adam Shank. He's making cuts, but I don't know in a field like this how much damage he can do.
Yeah.
And
The
that's
problem with Shank, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The
No,
problem
no.
with Shank is he's been playing these terrible events and he's still can't get inside like the
Yeah,
top
it's like 40th.
Right. So, I mean, and he's hitting the ball. He was hitting last week, not so much, but he's been playing good and he can't crack the top 30 in a terrible event. So I don't know what he's going to do this week.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. You know what? Like I said, it's a good event. We're going to be digging into it as we get to tomorrow and certainly as lock approaches Thursday morning. That'll do it for us. Chat, I know there's a lot going on with the playoffs. The Bucks are very sluggish right now, but we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Hit the like button. We need all those likes as we get on out of here. And again, tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern, me and Jason Roslin will get those questions answered. Follow us both on Twitter. Harass Tim. Say good things to me. You guys know the drill. Good luck, everyone. We will be back same time, same place for the next leg of the, I almost said Triple Crown, of the FedEx Cup playoffs.